Hey guys, how's it going today? I'm going to try and get a little bit more into detail about the actual ScopeCam setup that I'm using and just about the components and final remarks and everything else about it. So first thing we're going to get into is the actual the camera itself, which is just a modified GoPro Hero 7 from Backbone. These run for about $725 right now. They are quite expensive, but they are really worth it when it comes to the price and what you get for it. So it's pretty much the same as just a regular GoPro Hero 7. They're both Hero 7s. The only difference is that it's got a aluminum front plating, which actually helps with dissipating heat and also just a little bit more protective rather than the rubbery kind of plastic one that you get here that doesn't help with the overheating issues. Then you've got this little S mount to M12 mount adapter for lenses. You do want to get an M12 lens. I have a 16mm lens installed on here. It works out perfectly. The side shot company, they recommend anywhere from 12 to 16. I went for the 16 route. You do want to get one that has an infrared filter installed. I do not. I actually have removed mine. I don't recommend doing that, or recommend keeping yours on there. But Backbone does include these infrared cut filters if you do have a lens that does not have an infrared filter on there. I don't recommend going that route because there is a good chance that, or not, there's a small chance that these lenses can pop out if they get knocked around too much, which is actually what happened this past weekend, but luckily I caught it before anything happened. So a few of the good features with this as far as actual GoPros is that you do have the live screen. Get this guy turned on. You have the live screen, which you don't have with the with run cams or with Mobius cameras. You have the interchangeable batteries. You have the Wi-Fi remote. You have everything that you could possibly really need with GoPro in order to do that. You have the video settings, everything that it's phenomenal. So let's go ahead and start moving on to the next part, which is the mount itself. So this is the side shot mount. It comes with the scope ring, or the mount itself, and these little scope ring adapters. So the way this thing works is just there's a small mirror in here that actually just reflects the image that way. It doesn't block your view at all. You can see just perfectly fine right through it. It's pretty simple. Just go ahead and just pop this guy in here really quick. I'll turn it back on. And you're going to notice that I've actually installed the window. I'm not sure if it came with the window door or not. I just have a few of these cases lying around because I have a few of these GoPros laying around. But let's go ahead and close that guy down. And it's perfectly centered. So we'll just see if I can get that guy right there. And you're not going to see anything because it's not attached to a scope. But anyways, that's pretty much how it goes. We'll move on to the adapter rings. These come in 3 different sizes, from 24mm to 30mm and 34mm. I am running a Viper PST 1 to 4 times from Vortex. I'm probably repeating myself. And there's pretty simple. I went with the 30mm option because I'm running a 30mm scope. And let's go ahead and just flip this guy around. I think I ran it like that, maybe. Yeah, I don't know. And yep, nope, not like that. The only thing that really matters with these is the actual so if you mount it like this, then you get left and right for where the camera is going to be positioned, and then on the other side you have up and down. So there's normally 2 of these screws. I happen to have lost mine, but it's whatever. So go ahead and get this guy tightened down, but you don't want him too tight, just that way you can adjust it, because otherwise the reticle will be lopsided if you don't have it adjusted properly. It's pretty easy to kind of tell right off the bat. So you want this guy and the side guy to be kind of just flat with the, there you go, get it in focus maybe. Yeah, you just want it just like that. It's pretty simple. Let's go ahead and throw this guy on here. You can run it either with the GoPro on the right side, but I've found that that gets in the way of the bolt if you're on the bolt action side of things. So I run on the left. The only thing is that now with your right eye here, your left eye is pretty much blocked by the camera. So that's the only downside with that, but I was pretty much fine with it. Tighten these guys down. Now he's not going anywhere if you tighten him all the way down instead of just being half-assed like I always am. Now that guy's barely going anywhere. Yeah, I moved the mount. Oh well. Let's get that guy fully tightened down. That guy's not going anywhere. So that's pretty much how this is all set up. The mount runs for $275. They do have an option on their website to buy the full pre-built kit. However, it is quite honestly not worth it. I'm not really sure where they're trying to go with this, but the GoPro, the modified GoPro from Backbone, runs for $725 right now. It used to be $800 when I bought it. The mount goes for $275, which then puts you right now at about $1,000. Yep, about $1,000. And the lens costs about $25, which puts you at a grand total, even with shipping, about $1,100. Their pre-built kit goes for $1,250. I'm not sure where they're trying to go with that. It's literally cheaper to buy it and build it yourself. There is another company out there called Eagle Vision. They do sell adapters that are very much similar to this, and I'm actually a little bit more inclined to buy theirs if anything ever goes wrong with this one, just because they have this is a plastic attachment right here, and I haven't had any problems with it, but I'd be worried about any drops or anything. But the Eagle Vision one is actually aluminum, and it would look like it, it's a little bit more sturdy, and also it would actually help with overheating issues, so that's something I might look into later on another paycheck. So let's go into just a little bit further into this. So the only downside to this, and you're going to have this issue with the Eagle Vision one too, is actually getting the GoPro in focus with the scope. It does take a lot of time, because basically what you have to do is you just throw the scope in there, and then I recommend using your phone for this, but take a photo, view it on your phone, and then if it's in focus or not, you have to take the camera out and adjust the lens and then pop it back in. It's very long, it's tedious. You also want to make sure that you're not focusing to the reticle. You want to make sure you're focusing to something at distance. So I'm sitting right next to a window right now, so that was kind of helpful that I was able to look across the street with it and just keep adjusting the lens. So as far as why I'm actually only shooting in 240, why I'm shooting at 120 frames a second as opposed to 240. So there's a number of reasons. One is to prevent the overheating issue. The other is the actual digital zoom function. So at 1080p, I'll get this a little bit closer for you guys up here. So at 1080p at 120 frames a second, if you want to focus, there we kind of go. There you go. So with 120p, you actually have this nice little zoom function. You can actually zoom. You can kind of see that it's still a little bit lopsided right now, but that can easily be fixed by just changing just rotating the mount just a little bit. But you have this digital zoom. Now, if you don't go with the digital zoom, you do have, let's get this all the way up to 4 times so you can see that a little bit better. You have these rings around the sides, which I don't like just because they're not full rings, and plus you want to be able to see as much as possible sometimes. So because this is only a 4-time zoom, you can actually double that even more. So this past weekend I was actually filming at 50% zoom on top of the 4-time zoom, so probably around 6 times zoom, I want to say. So it can actually see a little bit more than you can. There was actually a few shots in the recordings that I was looking at. I didn't know I'd actually hit the people, but the camera could see it, but I couldn't. So that's one of the cool things with that. I do recommend getting familiar with GoPro's settings and how to color grade your footage. That is not something I did last weekend, and kind of shows in the footage from last week's video. There is a setting, a new feature with GoPro. They are getting rid of the ProTune settings in a sense. They're introducing these QR codes that basically you just scan the QR code with the GoPro and it's going to remember those settings. The only thing I wish that it did is that it does not remember your zoom level. So if you leave that at 50% and you turn the camera off in between games and you come back to the camera later, the zoom is going to be back to 0%. So you have to remember that every time before you start recording, is you got to apply the zoom. You can see the GoPro Labs thing for the QR codes. Other than that, let's go over just kind of the sum of what I think about this. So, was it worth the money? To me, yes. I've always had issues with cameras as far as overheating. This past weekend, I was having issues with the SD card, which, provided is not the camera's fault. It was just an issue with the SD card. I've had issues with the old Mobius cameras. They've always, so the problem that you normally have with your other scope cams is that you're not actually able to adjust them. So if you're shooting left or right or up or down, there's no way to actually compensate for that. And you also don't know what's in frame for the camera. So if you're not shooting a complete laser, like some famous YouTubers out there, then you're kind of out of luck. I've had bad luck with rifles and cameras at the same time, so often they're completely out of sync with each other, so it's been a bit of a problem. So with this, so long as you can zero the scope to the shot, and you follow through on your target, and you follow the BB all the way in, it's always going to be captured on the camera. And that's just one of the wonderful things about all this. It's just, it really works. The only downsides is obviously, so if you're, it does block vision, it does add quite a bit of weight. I mean, this thing's not light, I guess. It does add a bit of a back weight to your rifle. Because yeah, this thing's got a little bit of weight. The main thing is just the GoPro. There's not really anything heavy with the mount itself, but it does add more weight. The other thing that it does do is you now have your left or right eye is now being blocked by the camera, as well as if you have the camera on the right side, then now you've got you're being blocked with a bolt unless you're running an AEG or something like that. There's a number of things, but is it worth it? To me, yes. Is it worth the $12.75 for the pre-built kit? No, do not go that route. I'm sorry, side shot. I'm not sure what you guys were thinking with that. Maybe you guys just haven't updated your prices, but that's a little bit absurd, to be honest. Other than that, I'll keep you guys updated on this project and keep you guys updated with more videos. Hope to see you guys out there next week.